New York Jets square off with the New York Giants this Saturday night in a massive preseason game. And coming up on today's show, we're going to be diving into 5 players on the Jets roster that could either make or break their NFL careers this Saturday. Now, speaking about this Saturday, we are going to be going live for the game. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and tune in. We actually had over 5,000 people join us for our watch party last week, which credit to all the real ones for hopping in that live chat and hanging out with us. But if you guys didn't, make sure you change that and hit that subscribe button today. We're actually closing in here on 8,100 subs. So appreciate all of you guys who have hit that subscribe button. But if you haven't, change that subscribe today. All right, so let's break it down. 5 players that can make or break their careers this Saturday versus the Giants. Now, these aren't, the household names of the New York Jets. Like, these aren't the Sauce Gardners, the Garrett Wilsons, the Quinnen Williams. These are guys who are trying to make the team. And if they don't make the team and they don't perform during the last 2 preseason games, maybe their NFL careers could be cut short. But let's start off with a UDFA from this past year and a guy who was turning heads against the Green Bay Packers, former University of Michigan running back Donovan Edwards. Now, Donovan Edwards, he looked awesome against the Packers. We actually saw a lot of juice that, I'm not saying I thought he didn't have it, but, he had a lot of tread on those tires, getting used a whole lot for the Wolverines back at Michigan. But he still had that pop, and that was on display against Green Bay. 9 carries, 42 yards, averaged 4.7 yards per clip. Also had a nice catch that went for 21 yards. But honestly, my favorite play from Donovan Edwards was a play that was called back. It was that touchdown run he had that was negated by a holding penalty. It was blocked up very well by the offensive line. He hit that hole, put his foot in the ground. Then he just got down the left sideline, and it was just a race to the pylon, and you couldn't catch up to him. He looked that good. He looked that fast. But, I'll tell you what, he is fighting an uphill battle to make the final 53-man roster because, the 3 guys that you see first, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, are all locks to make the team. And even I would consider Jets fans' favorite, Andrew Beck, a lock to make the team as well. So he's going to be fighting with Kene Nwangwu here. Now, Kene Nwangwu, he's a hell of a kick returner, one of the better kick returners in the National Football League. But if Donovan Edwards wants to go and make this final 53-man unit, he's going to have to go out there and take Kene's job this Saturday. Now, Kene is also probably thinking, I got to go make a play in the kick returning game or show them more as a running back. But as just pure runners of the football, Donovan Edwards has the edge. Now, also the question becomes, does Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, do they want to keep like 4 pure running backs on the roster? Most NFL teams don't necessarily do that. But also, if Donovan Edwards pops, he could be a guy that you're like, hey, I don't want to put him on the practice squad because another team is going to go poach him and then we'll never get him back. So it'll be interesting to see how they play it, especially if Donovan Edwards shines again this upcoming Saturday. But I got high expectations. He looked great against the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully he can continue that to this upcoming Saturday night. Now, another guy who looked pretty good against Green Bay and is trying to build on that as well, Jamal Pritchette, UDFA wide receiver for the New York Jets. The Jets are probably viewing this guy as, his max potential in the dream scenario for him is the lead kick and punt returner for this team. And, he's going to have to make a play. And this happens every single preseason where, there's a guy who's, on the border of making the 53-man roster and he has a splash play on special teams. He houses a kick. He houses a punt. And I think that's where Jamal Pritchett's at this point because I don't think it will be a situation where, he goes out there and he has, 7 catches for 80 yards and, he makes it as a wide receiver. If he is making it, if he's making this team, it's going to be as a kick and a punt returner. And I guarantee you, this coaching staff is rooting for him. He's a UDFA. Glenn's talked about him and just loved his dog mentality and just loved the hustle that he has about, just himself as a person. So I'm rooting for him as well. So those kick returns, those punt returns this Saturday, keep your eyes out. I think Jamal Pritchette could potentially house one of those. And if he does, it'd be tough to leave him off this final 53-man unit for the New York Jets. But let's kick it to the defense here. A guy who really impressed me, Ryan Cooper Jr., or also known as Bump Cooper, the bump and run corner for the New York Jets. Now, he had an awesome performance against the Green Bay Packers. And, the overall PFF grade ended up coming out to a 74.2. But honestly, I thought that was a little low considering his coverage grade was 88.3, which was unreal. One of the highest in the National Football League from preseason week 1. But where did he struggle? It was in the run defense and tackling. Super low grades there. Run defense 34.3, tackling grade 90 or 29.2. But he did play 28 snaps. And the fact that he had an 88.3 coverage grade speaks to his performance. He had a couple of pass breakups. He seems like a super sticky corner where you're obviously not comparing him to Sauce Gardner, but he does get super handsy. He wants to press up. He wants to play aggressive. So he could get beat over the top. He could get called for a couple of penalties, but I thought Bump Cooper played, great against Green Bay. And, the Jets need some depth at that cornerback position. I think, the 5th and 6th spot on the depth chart are wide open. And if Bump Cooper has another good game, hey, maybe we'll end up making the team. But I'll ask you guys this before we dive into 2 more names here in a second. Name a player that needs to step up this Saturday for your New York Jets. I'm going to go Jamal Pritchette. I'll keep it there. I think he steps up, makes a play in the kick, punt return game. He could potentially make the team. You guys drop a name down below in the comment section. Now, also, if you guys want to get some more New York Jets merchandise in your life, we got these hoodies on sale right now. If you guys just hit that link, chatsports.com/Jets hoodies, I'll make sure to include this in the comment section and description of today's show. But these cutoff hoodies, that look is in. I'm probably going to get one of these right after we film today's video. I really like them. And also, a couple of my buddies have these cutoff looks, and they said they're super comfortable as well. So if you guys want to take advantage of a sweet sale going on right now, head over to chatsports.com/Jets hoodies. All right, let's talk about a defensive end here. Michael Clemens. Jets fans, you guys all got opinion on Michael Clemens. And I still think he will end up making the final 53-man roster when it's all said and done. But also, Aaron Glenn doesn't seem like he's the biggest fan of him, considering he got benched for fighting last week. And the Jets also do save $3.4 million if they decide to cut him. Now, what would they use that money for? Probably wouldn't go to use this year. They'll probably just end up rolling it over into the next season. But, I think if the Jets, who, they feel comfortable with the 2 edge rushers, right? They feel comfortable with Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. They like the depth behind him. And maybe when you're talking about the defensive line as a whole, if they want to add some more spots to the defensive tackle position and Michael Clemens doesn't play well, he's still causing some issues off the field, maybe they could give it to a guy like Leonard Taylor III. Now, I think Tufeli's for sure going to make the roster. Considering the performance he had, it was unreal. And honestly, I think he could end up starting next to Quentin Williams at some point this season. But how about a guy like Leonard Taylor III? Had that forced fumble in the end zone that resulted in a touchdown for the New York Jets. And, maybe they're just looking at a guy like Michael Clemens. We could save a little money. We could give a roster spot to another defensive lineman. I don't think it's a full guarantee he ends up making the team. I'd still bet that he does, but if he doesn't perform, he has a bad game, doesn't have any wild pop plays, considering, who he is off the field, and Glenn doesn't really seem the biggest fan of him, anything's on the table here in the preseason. But let's wrap it up talking about a guy who is probably the definition of this video, a make or break candidate in, not only in making the Jets roster, but his entire NFL career. And that's Malachi Corley. And I think this might be Corley's last chance, specifically with the New York Jets. Now, he could get picked up by another team and have some other opportunities in a preseason game, but I think the Jets are, they're fans of that wide receiver room. They love what they've seen from Tyler Johnson. Arian Smith is making a bunch of wild plays. We obviously know they love Xavier Gibson as well. And if they're keeping 6 guys, it's probably going to be Garrett, Josh Reynolds, Lazard, Arian Smith, Xavier Gibson, and sleeping on another guy. But it will be tough for him to, make that final 53-man roster. But I'll tell you what, he should get a lot of chances this Sunday, or Saturday, excuse me. If I am the Jets, I am making sure this guy plays the entire game. Like, I'm going to make him a focal point of the offense, at least early on, and just to see if he shows any pop, see if he has any wild plays, because he had a couple of chances against the Packers. Didn't make anybody miss. Didn't really love what I saw from him personally, and I'm guessing the Jets coaching staff would probably agree with that. So he should get a lot of chances, but this could be his last chance. So hopefully he takes advantage. Hopefully he changes our tune on him, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But you guys let me know. Will Malachi Corley make the final 53-man roster for the New York Jets? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys drop your thoughts down below in the comments section. And also make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We'll be going live this Saturday, 30 minutes before kickoff. So tune in then. We'll see you guys next time. As always, go Jets.